Hey all, I'm back playing Deus Ex Human Revolution, Director's Cut, and I want to continue looking at the progression systems. This time, the skill table. Now this might be something quite unfamiliar to a lot of people. Normally we see skill trees. This is a skill table, which is essentially a table of skill trees. So if I click on any one of these, you can see there's lots of little skill trees. Some of them very, very simple, you buy one thing and you automatically get that, and that's it, one purchase. Some of them have these branching trees and some have linear trees. Now, you need praxis points to buy skill trees, to buy skills. Obviously we covered in video 1 that praxis is awarded for getting to 5,000 XP. And this happens very, very regularly, and that's the first plus point about this system. It costs 68 to fill this table. I got 50 during a 27-hour playthrough. So you're getting nearly 2 an hour, which is actually a really good amount. Some of them come in bursts. So maybe you'll get 3 at a time because you get big level completion bonuses and you go up a level a couple of times. So you do get nice big jumps and very noticeable changes. So obviously I'm looking for, does this system make the game more fun? Does it produce meaningful change, and does it encourage all gameplay styles? We'll see. It's a mixed bag, as I've said about 100 times, but it definitely produces meaningful change, and that's the first thing. If we just look at a couple of these, you'll be able to see how much of an impact they can actually have. The actives that I've bought so far at this point in the game, I have this stealth suit, which turns me invisible. Massively impactful, as I'm sure you can imagine. I have silent running, which lets me run without making any noise, if I activate that. I have this looking through walls thing. Again, surprisingly impactful. Would have been more interesting if there was the ability to shoot through walls, because that's not really in the game, but hey, it's there. And these are just the active ones. There is a fourth active, which I haven't purchased, which is this Typhoon explosive system, which basically sprays out explosives from around you. Very, very dangerous. Does a hell of a lot. And really, this is the case for all of these. Most of the others augment existing skills and give new capabilities rather than having a new key press. Things in the cybernetic leg tree here allow you to jump like 3 meters high. So if you look, there's about the standard jump height, and then as you can see, the jump height is huge. These have a dramatic impact on gameplay. And I mentioned in the first video that Deus Ex is a game about play style and about choosing your own path and playing your own way. This augmentation system here is all about that. So many of these open up new paths to progress through the game world. The hacking ones here, you know, they'll allow you to hack through new doors and to let you go through physical new paths. Sometimes, you know, the turret domination or robot domination, you know, you can turn robots against the enemies, you can turn off cameras, maybe you can turn turrets on the enemies and things like that. Totally new way to deal with that situation. Typhoon, you can just blow everybody up. The jumping is fantastic. There's loads of opportunities in the game where they bring this in, where if you've got this jump upgrade, you can jump up to a place you wouldn't be able to previously, and it opens up a new path. Sprint faster seems to help you jumping distances, so there's some gaps deliberately designed for that, which works fantastically. Icarus landing here lets you fall without taking any damage. I'll show in a minute how useful that can be. Reflex booster lets you take out 2 people at the same time. Really, again, I'm sure you can imagine that brings some really interesting situations. The arm ones here, instant takedown. You start with punching through walls to actually break a wall. Only certain walls, but again, there's a few places in the game where that opens up a new path, and you can go down that way and pursue that. Move and throw heavy objects. Loads of places in the game that encourage you to use that if you've bought it. You know, you can pick up a fridge and put it down next to a fence, normally a trash bin, and put it down next to a fence and use that to hop over the fence. Maybe if you don't have the extended jump thing. And there's loads of stuff like that. And that would be my first criticism. That sounds entirely positive. And I know I always say I like to see meaningful change. Deus Ex does meaningful change incredibly well, but it almost takes it a bit too far. There is so many of these, and you get so many of these. Like I said, over the course of the game, I got 50 out of 68 points worth. The ones I was missing were fairly minor. It was a couple of like stealth enhancers, that lets me track enemies and stuff. Most of the ones relating to new paths I had. And what this means in terms of gameplay is, instead of this being me going, hey, I'm a stealth character, let's look for a way to sneak past these people. Let's look for a way for me to sneak past these people and then use, my stealth. It's, which way have I ran? Oh, there's a big jump. I've got loads of abilities already. I'll just use the big jump. So there is a little bit of that. Some of the paths are really diverse. The orgs are really, really diverse. But in reality, because you get so many of them, it's not about playing the game your way anymore. It almost becomes playing to the path that you found now, unless you're going for a specific achievement. So there is a little bit of that, and that is one of the only negative change from the first Deus Ex. The first Deus Ex had a system in place that you found canisters, and canisters contained augmentations, and you had to choose which of the two to install. Each canister had 2 orgs. It'd maybe give you, if they were eye orgs, one would maybe let you track targets, and the other would give you thermal vision. It's like if one gives you thermal, one gives you night vision, that sort of choice. They're not actual ones, but it's that sort of thing. And it forced you into hard choices, which is a massive part of the Deus Ex universe, is making difficult decisions. And this game definitely takes that away a little bit. But I guess at the end of the day, it still does give you plenty of option. It definitely makes the game more fun than it would be without them. I mean, there's nothing quite like throwing a vending machine at somebody. It's quite entertaining. But it maybe could have been a little bit more tactfully done, forced you to choose between maybe jump height and sprint like the first game did, forced you to choose between a double melee takedown and a explosion spray, because giving you all the tools in the bag really doesn't create a lot of gameplay variety between playthroughs. It creates lots of gameplay variety within a playthrough, but it almost makes the game too easy. And I guess that would be the final thing I would talk about, is the impact on the game's challenge that these augmentations have. They're not really that well balanced, and they're a lot of fun. They have a big impact, but I mentioned earlier, the impact's too big. So if I buy here Icarus Landing, which lets me fall from any height, and if I upgrade my energy bars so I can stay in stealth a little bit longer, make my stealth more efficient. Now, not all of these are active abilities. I typically don't like statistical changes, but this game does statistical change very well, and very, very easy to understand for the player. As you can see here, stealth, you get 3 seconds for each energy cell, then 5, then 7. That is huge change. That is really big change. In terms of functionality, so it's still very, very noticeable. But we'll see here just how dramatic an impact some of these orcs can have, and I probably am going to die, but it doesn't really matter. Now, if I was to drop down here with Icarus in stealth, as you can see, these two combined, it's dropped me into stealth, and I can literally, I've just skipped the whole working my way down stage by stage and walked past every enemy, and then I'm essentially exiting the area. Now, this is a great plus and a great con of the game. The change is so dramatic, and there is wonderful combinations of augmentations like that, like sprinting and stealth. You naturally think of stealth as to be this slow and steady process, and this game's development systems allow you to kind of play it the way you want. So you can play fast and stealthy if you want to play fast and stealthy. You can play stealthy and violent if you want to play stealthy and violent. And I really, really like that, but it does make the game a little bit too easy with some of these orgs. They do take it a little bit too far. Like this stealth, by the time you get 7 seconds per cell, I mean, I can just activate this here and walk straight past that guy. Turn it off, now I'm here. Turn it on so I don't get seen by that turret. Obviously I've played this game a little bit too much recently, and the game just becomes a little too easy. I mean, I can just stealth up, run straight past these, run straight past the turret, and I'm done. That whole interesting engagement, whole well-designed area completely skipped. So there are some combinations of orgs, and obviously I've just given myself away, that just ruin what is otherwise a really nice system. So things like the Typhoon will let you take out bosses in like 2 seconds, which is just no fun. That's the explosive system I talked about earlier. So there is that. Some of the orgs are a bit overpowered, and some of the orgs have this inverse relationship to the thing they're trying to help. And what I mean by that is the stealth system is really the prime example, and it is the worst offender, and the Typhoon as well, actually. Who buys this stealth thing? 2 types of people, from what I can see. People who enjoy stealth gameplay, and people who suck at stealth gameplay. For people that suck at stealth gameplay, this is a great augmentation, because it allows you to go, hey, look, I wouldn't have been able to sneak through there because I'm maybe not good with timings and other things like that. But for people that enjoy stealth gameplay, it completely ruins it because it just makes it too easy. I mean, and where is the fun in that? It just, some of them, it's not about just being overpowered, it's about stealth orgs making stealth gameplay less enjoyable. Stealth gameplay is about observation and timing and looking at your enemies and being patient and looking for opportunities, and for the most part, and this org can take away a hell of a lot of that. Obviously I'm completely botching this up because I'm talking, but it does take away a lot of that, and it is a real shame. So there is that. But there is one final thing I really like. Again, it's another thing that's quite rare in games. Actually, let's just take him out so I can chill out. I got an energy bar? No, I don't. So it's 7. Get a thing. Boom, boom. Sit down. Is this. Okay, final thing. Normally, the higher tiered abilities, the later abilities in skill trees, are the most expensive. In this game it's the other way around. The first purchase is the most expensive. If I'm to look at the implanted rebreather here, the activation cost of this rebreather is 2. The subsequent upgrades are 1 and 1. You're given this one for free when you buy that. So it's really, that is the base purchase. The first purchase has a dramatic impact but costs 2. And subsequent upgrades each cost 1. Now, when I first played through this in 2011, I didn't like this system. I thought it locked off too many of the game's augmentations in the early game, and it encouraged you to complete skill trees and then move on. And it does do that. But playing back through it now, I kind of understand why they've made the decision. If you make the base levels for each of these orgs cheap to purchase, the basic functionality becomes available to you, and every path in the game becomes open. And I may have mentioned it earlier, but as soon as you've got all the base functionalities, this game stops being about what skills have I got and how can I use them to get past this situation, and starts becoming what is this situation and what skill does it want me to use. And it's just about pressing the right button or doing the thing that this particular corridor is asking you to do. Like this one here is obviously for people that have got the EMP jammer and don't have to worry about taking EMP, or maybe people who've got the good jump and can go this route. So it really is, it becomes a little too easy anyway, because you get a lot of the orgs early and you get a lot of the functionality early, and then you can really just kind of do whatever's needed for the situation instead of looking for a way that suits your play style. So I understand why they've made the initial costs more expensive, and it actually locks off some of the augmentations till a little bit later in the game and produces a more, I guess, varied playstyle till a little bit later. You still end up getting almost everything anyway, but at least when they do it this way, have a turret. At least when they do it this way, you know, it kind of keeps the game interesting and engaging a hell of a lot longer. So I actually love the decision they made there to make the initial upgrades more expensive. So overall, what do we got? If we just reload back in, we have a skill table. There's loads to get. Everything has a massive impact on gameplay, not just on engagement, but on pathing and routes. Even in some of the way, you know, the boss battles are fought and stuff like that, particularly within the director's cut when they've revamped all the boss battles. You know, so on my 3 points, does it encourage all playstyles? Yes, but I have that issue where buying stealth upgrades or combat upgrades sometimes makes combat or stealth less enjoyable, and that's a shame. More viable but less enjoyable. It definitely produces meaningful change, we can never argue that. And I guess, does it make the game more fun? Without this system, this game wouldn't exist. It is absolutely integral. I just think maybe if they'd have forced you to make some tougher decisions about which upgrades you get, and maybe kind of giving you a branching tree where they were, you know, mutually exclusive, so you could only have one tree or the other, maybe sprint speed or jump height, that sort of thing, you know, stealth or the typhoon, which kills everybody around you, it would have just made the game better. To put things really simply, it would have been more about playing your way and finding a route that matches you, instead of just going, hey, what have I got for this particular situation? Which I guess is viable, and if it's what they were going for, they did it fantastically, because that is the way the game is played now. But that is it on the skills. I'm going to come back next time and look at the gear system. It shouldn't take long, because the gear system is fairly simplistic. Take it easy. Bye.